Partners, happy Wednesday. Dr. Emily, Fritz, and I are so happy to be here today for our first training in a series regarding our Shakeology and the different blends that we have in our Shakeology. And so Dr. Emily Smith, for all of you who don't know, she is our principal scientist here at Body. She holds a PhD in nutrition and exercise science. And she's on the research and development team. So she is in the thick of research and testing our products and helping come up with new things within bodies. So welcome, Dr. Emily, and thank you.
Thanks always for having me. And also thanks for being here to talk about the thing that is our favorite. But when I say our, I mean your and my favorite thing. And other people are getting savvy to it too.
Yeah. So. Our favorite thing. So I bet you guys are totally waiting to hear what our favorite thing is. So let me add this to the screen. Shakeology 101 training, but specifically today, we are talking about protein and why is important to our bodies, essential, what it does, how much we need, busting myths, and giving you so much incredible information today. So
so as you said, Jen, Shakeology, what we're doing is this new series of trainings where we highlight the blends in Shakeology. And today is our favorite blend, the protein blend. But for everyone who's not as familiar with Shakeology, let's talk about what Shakeology is.
Oops.
What is Shakeology? So Shakeology is our flagship product. It was developed by Isabel Deichler and Darren Oline, and it's a nutrient-dense superfood nutrition shake. It is also dessert, and it is crafted with over 60 ingredients, and you can use Shakeology in your daily routine to eat better, feel better, live better. That's what it was designed for. We know how hard it is to get all of the nutrition that you need in a day, so it's a delicious way to really make sure that you're getting enough of many of the things that you need.
Yes, and while Shakeology, we all know, has the 5 nutrient blends, today we are only going to talk about one of those things. We're going to highlight
magical blend. Yeah. So when we look at the protein blend, it really is like Shakeology as a whole is designed to address the needs of our busy life, like I mentioned, but also these ingredients are globally harvested. We have an incredible quality assurance program. We test materials as they come in, as we include them in Shakeology, and then we also test the finished product extensively before it gets shipped out. That includes this protein blend. And so when we look at the protein blend in Shakeology, there are a couple of different ingredients that we use in the protein blend. So on the back of your pack, you can see, if you go to the next slide, Jen, there's a variety of different sources of protein. So within that protein blend, we include flax, we include rice protein, we include quinoa, we include pea protein. And then for whey Shakeology, we also include whey protein. And so you look at this blend, it was very specifically designed to provide you with all of the 9 essential amino acids. So let's take a little protein basics. Proteins are long chains of amino acids connected together through something called a peptide bond. And there are 20 amino acids. 9 of those 20 are essential, which means that we have to consume them in the foods that we eat. We cannot make them. The other 11 amino acids our body is able to make or synthesize or extract from storage. And so these essential amino acids have to come from our diet. So when we look at protein quality, we're looking at the amounts of 9 essential amino acids. And so when we picked these sources of plant-based proteins tend to be low in certain amino acids. So we blended a variety of different plant-based proteins together to give you a balanced amount of each of the 9 essential amino acids. When we look at whey protein naturally contains all 9 of those essential amino acids in the correct ratios, and it's very digestible. So we talk about whey protein being a complete source of protein. When we talk about vegetable proteins, those tend to be incomplete, but when you blend them together, they get closer. Now, when we look at the importance of protein, the main thing that we all know about is muscle. So makes sense, right? When we consume protein, you have all of those amino acids. They're the building blocks for muscles. So what our bodies do is they break down that protein into those individual amino acids. And then our body, our muscles are built back up with those same building blocks. So that's why it's really important that you get all 9 of those essential amino acids, especially the 3 branch chain amino acids, because those initiate that process of building muscle. We know you need adequate amount of protein when you're trying to lose weight, because if you don't have enough protein in your diet while you're trying to lose weight, you'll also lose muscle mass. So in addition to the fat mass that you're working so hard to lose, you lose muscle. And the more muscle you lose and the older you get, the harder it is to get that muscle back. So you want to make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet.
And Emily, can we talk a little bit, because I know this confusion of losing that muscle mass as you're trying to lose weight. And the reason your body is losing that muscle mass is because if you don't get enough protein, again,
so like I said, yeah,
muscle mass to provide your body with the nutrients,
with those amino acids, right?
Yeah.
Your body uses amino acids, not just for building muscle, but for every different role in our body. Protein is the building blocks of every cell, every gene. So protein is so important. And so if you don't have enough muscle, we think about how our bodies store fat. Our bodies store energy as fat, but our bodies also store protein as muscle. And so that's why you lose some of that muscle mass when you're losing weight, because if you're not getting enough protein, you need to use it for other functions in your body. Where do we store protein? We store it in our muscles. Yes. Great point, Jen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that the more protein you eat, it helps curb your cravings and you feel more satiated.
Totally. So, and people hear about that. Like the great part about Shakeology, we'll get into the other blends later on in the year, but this combination of protein and fiber especially really helps people feel full for longer. And that's an important part. So you want to make sure you get enough protein, but you got to eat things that help you feel full, especially when you're trying to maintain a healthy diet. And so protein is part of what makes us feel satiated, is the word that they use in science. So that feeling of fullness for longer comes a lot in part from the protein.
Because it takes longer.
It takes more energy for your body to digest protein. It takes longer to leave your stomach and enter circulation. It slows gastric emptying, which means how fast things leave your stomach. It also can help balance. When you include protein and fiber in what you're eating, it can help balance your blood glucose response so that you don't have a crash that then drives hunger later. So there are a lot of benefits from a hunger perspective.
So many. You can see now, partners, why we love this part.
This is our favorite
product. Yes, yes, yes. So we talked a lot about this, but let's go into some more detail about how much.
So we talked a lot about protein in Shakeology, but let's talk about protein and why protein is important. So I mentioned that amino acids are the building blocks of your body. You use them for all these different functions, any type of rebuilding, messaging, like so many things in our body are made of amino acids and our proteins. But when we think about how much protein we need in a day, the RDA, the recommended dietary allowance for protein, is controversial because most think it's too low. And when we look at what that amount is, it's 0.8 grams per kilogram of your body weight. Kilogram is 2.2 pounds per kilogram. And so it works out to about half a gram of protein for every pound of weight. Now, that amount was designated because it keeps you in something called nitrogen balance, which means that you're not losing muscle or wasting away, but you're also not getting enough protein to optimize muscle, to optimize some of these health things.
Energy and all of that.
Yeah. So the controversy is that the RDA is too low for protein. The recommendations, when we look at healthy adults, especially healthy adults who want to build muscle mass, are about twice that. So then we're talking 1 gram per pound of your body weight, or 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight as a good target. And when we think about getting that much protein in the day, it's pretty tough to do. So what we need to think about, it's going to be for most people in that like 100 to 170 gram range per day. Each serving of protein should be about the size of your palm. Or when we think about that as how many grams of protein that is, it's 20 to 30 grams. And we recommend, and the science suggests, that you use that 20 to 30 gram amount of protein 4 to 5 times a day. So most of us eat 3 meals a day. Even people who might do smaller meals, it's still important to get an extra protein feeding in. And that's where Shakeology can really help, because you're getting pretty close to that 20 grams of protein. But when we look at why it needs to be spaced out over the course of the day, it's because you need kind of a consistent flow of those amino acids for your body to be able to use and build muscle and maintain that even protein status. So this is, yeah, please.
Yeah, even protein status, but we have this chart here.
Yes.
About the proposed protein distribution and timing.
So
timing matters, right?
Timing matters. So one of our scientific advisory board members, Dr. Abby Smith-Ryan, has done a lot of work on this. So this is actually from a study, from a publication that she published and in an academic journal. And this is a pattern that she uses and recommends. So she uses it in her research, and she's seen a lot of benefits, but she also lives this in her life, and I've started implementing it too. So she does 30 grams at breakfast, 30 grams at lunch, depending on when you exercise. Having a little protein before you exercise, she's in her studies has actually discovered helps burn fat during exercise. It helps fuel that exercise, and it helps build muscle mass. So you get a little bit of protein before and a little bit of protein after exercise. She's really seen optimal changes in body composition with that. And then at dinner, another 30 grams. So the thought is that you're fueled when you exercise, but those amino acids are there so that when you do the damage to your muscles working so hard, you are able to start building muscle back right away because those amino acids are there and available.
Okay. And I want to just ask one question with this chart, because I'm seeing that the pre number of grams before working out is higher than the post number of grams. And so I know there's gonna be a lot of questions about that. And so is there a difference and a reason to consume more protein before you work out and maybe 10 grams less? Can it be intermixed? Can you do 20 and 30? Does it matter?
This is kind of an example, but it doesn't need to be this precise. So what I recommend is, even if it's 10 to 15 grams of protein, you have a Greek yogurt, you have Shakeology before you work out, as long as you have time to comfortably digest it, that pre-workout protein is proving to be more and more important and more beneficial. So don't focus so much on the amount of protein. Just think about getting some of it in.
Okay. And when you say comfortably digest, do you have a time frame? I know some.
So anytime before exercise, but when it takes a little getting used to. So there are a lot of people who say, I can't exercise with anything in my stomach, or I don't want to eat before I exercise. You will feel better if you eat before you exercise. So I will say that. So it's worth the effort to try and get more comfortable with it. But for me, it's if you can consume it within an hour before exercise, whatever you feel comfortable with. For me, it's a Greek yogurt, literally 10 minutes before I exercise, because I exercise in the morning and I don't want to get up and then eat and then sit. So however you can squeeze a little bit of protein in, if it's a hard-boiled egg, if it's Shakeology, if it's even Recover, because it might be easier to just mix with water and drink quickly. Think about it that way. You'll feel better and you'll get a better workout in. And that's
Absolutely.
the goal, right?
Yes. And I will say that if you are one of those people who've struggled and you feel sick to your stomach, just give it some time.
Yeah.
Maybe don't make your Shakeology as a shake, but make it as
Yeah.
a pudding
Mix it
or
with water.
with my Recover first thing,
Yep.
like 15, 20 minutes before I work out. I make it like a thinner pudding or a
Yeah.
thicker pudding so that I can just down it really fast. It's not a whole bunch of liquid in my stomach. It did take a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
I was that person who didn't eat.
No.
It's so much better.
So it does, you have to train your stomach, like you have to train every other part of you.
Yes.
So it's worth a little bit of time and effort. And we've heard a lot. I- and sports science used to say just carbs, focus on carbs before exercise. But there's more and more work showing that protein can be beneficial too. And the last point on this slide is that protein recommendations differ by age and health goals. The next slide has another very interesting graph. But what I would say is if you're really trying to build muscle mass, then even going at the 2 grams per kilogram of body weight range, there are extra benefits to getting that additional protein in, especially if you're doing a lot of heavy resistance training. So we used to hear like, oh, what about too much protein? It is very difficult to consume too much protein in a day. So just trust your body. The same thing is true. We always heard like 40, 50 grams of protein is too much to consume at one time because your body can't digest it. It just takes longer for your body to digest and absorb it. And so don't worry so much about too much or too big of serving. Just worry about getting enough protein in during the course of the day.
Absolutely. And I want to just point out again, if you're looking to get results and you've been doing all the things and you're kind of stuck or spinning your wheels or not getting the results, it's most likely going to come
Yeah.
down to this protein being not enough for
Yeah.
the goals that you have.
People are usually surprised by this change and how big of a difference it can make.
And how much that you can consume.
Yeah. The other thing that I'll mention is as we age, our bodies get less efficient at digesting and utilizing protein. So we even have to focus on getting more as we age, which can be a challenge. So things like Shakeology really help you get closer to your protein goals in a way that's easy to consume and enjoyable to consume. And I think that that's something people should keep in mind. Like when they're working with customers, is protein, getting it in, really important. Finding a way that you enjoy doing it and getting to that goal is important too.
Right.
So that you stick with it.
And Shakeology has 17 grams of protein per
Yep.
serving. So that's you're almost to 20 grams with that.
Yeah.
Add some protein to that
Yeah.
for that. So we're talking about protein and as we age, but more specifically, Emily, I'd love for you to share about this new emerging science and research with protein and women.
Yeah. So I mentioned as we age, we get less efficient at digesting protein, but we also get less efficient at using that protein. So that means like we have to consume a little bit more, and that helps both because we're less efficient at digesting it, but also we're not as good at using it as we get older, especially if we're not focused on lifting heavy and maintaining strength. And so this actually was presented by another one of our scientific advisory board members at an SAB meeting we had last year, looking at the gap, right? So on the left side of this graph is men, and young men are really doing a great job at hitting that protein goal, that 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram per day. But if you look, even younger women are not getting there to that optimal protein intake. So, and then as they age and their bodies become less efficient and less good at utilizing the protein, the gap gets bigger. So prioritizing protein, especially women in that 30 to 50-year-old age group, and then the 51 to 70-year-old age group. So the word peri means perimenopausal. So people that haven't stopped getting their periods, but they're much less regular. And then postmenopausal is after you have stopped getting your period for 12 months or longer. This is where protein really makes a difference. And this is where continuing to work on building strength is very important. The other thing we see in the younger age groups, so that 20 to 30-year-old women and the first portion of the perimenopausal women over the age of 30 who are approaching perimenopause, is that when you have a normal menstrual cycle, you have two phases. The first part, from day one of your period to when you ovulate, is called the follicular phase. And then from when you ovulate to when you get your period again is called the luteal phase. And research has shown, and Abby's research, particularly Dr. Abby Smith-Ryan, has shown that during that luteal phase, from ovulation to the end of your cycle, you see some of these similarities. So our bodies become less efficient at digesting, but also less efficient at metabolizing protein. So thinking about adding a little bit more protein during that phase of your menstrual cycle is also a beneficial tactic to maintaining muscle mass and continuing to build strength.
Okay. And would you say, I know this is another myth that's around, especially with women in lifting. And I know a lot of partners have gone on board as women lifting heavier. And we've discussed why you need to be eating more protein so that you can be building that muscle instead of tearing it down and not replacing it because you don't have enough. But women can't. People have been afraid to lift heavy and eat protein because they think they're going to get bulky and big like men.
Yeah.
And that is a humongous myth, because if that was the case, men would be ginormous. It takes sometimes years to increase your muscle mass to the size that you're thinking might happen to you.
So there are two things that I'll mention here, Jen, and it's great. So it goes above and beyond protein. When we consume protein, sure, we have the building blocks there to build muscle mass, but you need to do the hard work to build the muscle mass. When you combine those two things, there's something in our bodies, a hormone we all know, called testosterone. And both men and women have testosterone. Women's testosterone levels are much lower than men's, but actually it's a pretty significant amount of testosterone that women have. And so testosterone really unlocks that mass building piece, right? So we don't have high enough levels of testosterone to have an anabolic effect, which is building huge muscles. Now, all of us have seen, or potentially you might have seen, a female bodybuilder who is very, very large. But sometimes they're using other things to change that hormonal status to be able to build mass like that. So for most women, I mean, I sort of wish it was easier, especially as you get older. It is very difficult to build muscle mass. You can work very, very hard, and you can eat a lot of protein, and you're still not going to be able to gain mass the way men would.
Right.
And really, I live my life, and my goal in educating people is that more women want to be bigger and stronger. So I think it's great to build muscle mass, and we should all want to be strong. But really, just from a scientific hormonal perspective, it's really not in the cards for most women to gain muscle mass the way men are able to, sadly.
So sad. And you have to, besides getting enough protein, be in a calorie, where you're in excess of calories to put on that size.
Totally. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, I like to think about it as prioritizing protein in your diet. So hit that protein target first, and then a lot of the other things will fall into place. But if you look at it in proportion to the total amount of energy you consume, increasing that protein intake to like 30%, 35% of your total calories in a day is a good target to shoot for.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Somebody else asked a question in the comments about recommending 2 shakes in a day to get your protein in. I'll give you my little hack. Is I do Greek yogurt or a hard-boiled egg before I exercise with my Energize. Then I do my workout, and then post-exercise I do Shakeology and a half a scoop or a full scoop of Recover in my Shakeology to boost that protein intake, so that I get over that 30-gram target. Or when you make your Shakeology, if you add some Greek yogurt or you add a protein containing milk to it, that's another way to boost it. So you don't necessarily need to do 2 scoops of Shakeology in a day. There are a bunch of different ways to get to that target. So be creative, or, Shakeology is part of a healthy breakfast. So go ahead with your Shakeology, have a couple eggs. So there are different ways to boost that total amount of protein with your Shakeology.
Absolutely. And I know there was you can mix, if you drink matcha, you can also mix your protein powder, the Recover, into the matcha tea and drink it that way. There's just so many different ways to do that. I think maybe we were wondering if it's okay to have 2 scoops of Shakeology.
Yeah. So actually in the clinical study on Shakeology, the long-term weight loss clinical study, people used Shakeology both at breakfast and lunch. So it is okay. If that's how you want to use Shakeology, please feel free to do that.
And with all the new dessert recipes partners that we have for Shakeology,
yeah.
oh my land, there's no, and they're all healthier desserts.
Yep.
Swaps.
You make a great point there too, Jen. There's a lot of really great research on protein consumption at night and helping you feel full through the night, helping you get better sleep because you're satiated, and your body does a lot of rebuilding and repair at night. And so having those amino acids available is really helpful for your body to use to repair and recover.
For sure. So hopefully, partners, you now have a better understanding for the role that protein plays in your goals, in your weight loss journey, in your journey to gain muscle mass, the importance of it, and really thinking about protein as those building blocks, as fuel, as energy for your body to become stronger, so that as you age, you continue to maintain your strength or even get stronger, because it's going to get harder and harder, as the science has proven. The studies have shown that. That's one reason I lift heavy, because I want to be able to continue to do all the things that I was able to do in my 30s.
Yeah.
And do that with muscle.
And let me just say, more and more research is showing that strength declines are going to happen, and the longer you can stay strong, the better off you're going to be for your long-term health and quality of life. And that's true of men too. So you saw that graph. Once you get into that older age category for males, protein intake is so important for men too. And so I think it's just a message that I hope people take away, is that you're doing the hard work in the gym, give your body the fuel it needs to build strength and stay strong. And just know how important protein is as part of that equation.
And that Shakeology
is a great source, right?
One of the sources. And it's been tested. It's been so many testing, that's third-party tested to ensure that you are getting quality ingredients, that there is in the bag what it says there is.
And just to brag on my team, the R&D team, a little bit, we really did consider all of these different plant-based proteins. We calculate something on each bag of Shakeology called the protein digestibility corrected amino acid score. So there are all these things we're doing in the background to make sure that you're getting a quality source of protein in every scoop of Shakeology.
Yes. Okay, partners, now I hope you feel a little more armed with another talking point that you can share about what Shakeology can do, what problem they can solve for your prospects, for your current maybe preferred customers, or customers if they've fallen off the wagon. This is just one more thing. We will be coming on here every other month, I think, talking about a specific blend. And so be sure to tune in, and we'll announce it, but it is the second Wednesday.
October. We're coming at you in October. We're going to be talking about adaptogens.
Yes, which is also another favorite.
Totally.
Okay.
Second to protein, though.
Second to protein. Protein's always number one. So, and I love that we have Shakeology and Recover as ways to get in more protein.
Totally.
And that it's clean and tested and does not have artificial flavorings, colorings, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, partners, make it a great week. Continue crushing Team Cup. Continue showing up, sharing your journey, sharing your wins, sharing the benefits, and sharing, the things that you have that you can help people with, that they need in their lives. Make it a great week. And thanks again, Dr. Emily, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see you.
All right.
Later.